dead too?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie? These sick fucks, you've seen one too many.
I said, don't you blame the movies! Movies don't create psychos! Movies make psychos more creative!
Hello, horror hounds, and welcome to the It Slays podcast. I'm Rowan.
Hi, it's Exilia.
And this is Mike. I'm drinking blueberry wine.
We haven't had our sponsorship part yet.
This episode is brought to you by Herbert's Blueberry Wine.
And some sort of sparkling water.
And I'm drinking Seaberry Spa Tea from David's Tea.
And this is episode... It doesn't have a number because it is a bonus episode. Yay!
Mike, you should be cheering. This is your movie.
It is my movie. I won! Suck it, X! By one vote!
Two, because I voted for myself.
Oh, yes, you fucking cheater.
This is the, if you didn't know, the fan poll pick from our Facebook group. We had Mandy versus My Bloody Valentine. And people decided it just was not time for Nicholas to come out of his cage.
But he will be. We will uncage him. We are uncaging him. It is happening.
Gosh,
it is happening. So
many.
never fear. Just because X got ground into dust on the polls does not mean that it's not happening.
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
I mean, I was ahead of you for a while.
What was a while? Like 10 hours, maybe?
Oh, 10 days.
The fight continues.
Okay.
So yeah, as we said, we are doing My Bloody Valentine, not 3D, at least not yet. This is the 1981.
It's a bad time, this time of year.
How many times is he gonna tell this story?
Oh, let him tell it. I love fairy tales.
This ain't no fairy tale, little girl. If you don't take it seriously, you're a fool!
The first Valentine's dance in 20 years has to be something special.
Look, Landers, you gotta get a lot of exercise if you're gonna grapple with Gretchen.
Oh, yeah? Well, I got a Valentine for her that she's never gonna forget. Right to the heart, huh?
In this town on Valentine's Day, everybody loses their heart.
Roses are red, violets are blue. One is dead, and so are you.
It can't be happening again.
No!
It can't be happening again.
What's going on over in Valentine Bluffs? It looks like Harry Warden's back in town.
It happened once. It happened twice. Cancel the dance or it'll happen twice. In the town of Valentine Bluffs, there are many ways to die. Take your pick. My Bloody Valentine.
And the first thing I said to myself was, Rowan, you should write down the director.
What's the
and I
budget,
didn't.
Rowan? This is your
I didn't write down the
thing.
director. It's directed by a guy, though. I do know
Oh,
that.
hang on. He's maybe... it's George Mielka.
George Mielka. And the guy that wrote it, I think, wrote, like, Prom Night 2 to 4.
Prom Night 2, first of all, is a fucking masterpiece. Hello, Mary Lou. Anybody, don't worry if you're listening. We will be doing Prom Night 2. Hello, Mary Lou. Don't worry.
Mike, if Rowan doesn't have this information, we should really bring up the budget. Since
I have the budget.
Oh, okay.
I have the budget. Just because it's a bonus episode, I don't slack on the extras for the people. So the budget is $2.3 million.
What? And this is in 1981. And then
I was like, the budget is $0.02 million. The budget is whatever I have in my bank account right now. That was my guess.
Do we want to take a guess at how much it was made?
Oh my god.
How much it was made. That was great English.
How much it made.
Are we talking theatrically or over its whole
theatrically?
Run?
I don't have the whole entire... They only gave the theatric numbers.
This is the most high budget movie we've done yet. And yet it looks the
It looks low budget. Let's just put it that way. Let's be democratic here and say that it looks.
Do you want to take a stab?
I have no idea.
I'm gonna say $8 or $9 million.
You think it made $5,000?
No. Okay.
It played once in the St. John's Avalon Mall.
$500,000.
At what Cineplex is charging for a fucking ticket right now, it would, if it only played once and like there was 4 people in the theater, it would have made $5,000.
So this made $5.7 million.
I was so close.
How?
So close.
So, well, let me say this, because I figure, you know what, we always do the facts at the end. This is the bonus episode. Let me get these fun facts, because it makes the movie even more fun. So that was considered a flop for this movie, because this movie was coming out while, like, Friday the 13th, everything.
Well, it was literally that fever pitch of not just slasher movies, but, like, holiday-themed slasher movies.
That's what I was kind of wondering about this. Was this actually a movie people, like, went to see?
So, basically,
was this a
let's start
movie?
with this. The original title for the movie was called The Secret. So, Valentine's Day had nothing to do with this.
Yeah, but did I read, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but did I read that they did that specifically so that nobody would know they were making a Valentine's Day movie and steal their thunder and, like, put out a cheaper version before they got theirs out?
Maybe. I didn't read that, but I mean, like, I didn't read that much about it, so...
I mean, neither did I, but that was just, like, the first thing I saw.
What I had read is they said that they chose Valentine's because they were trying to cash in on holiday horror because, they consider Friday the 13th like a holiday horror. Halloween had come out.
Well, I mean, there's specific days, right? It's like days whether it's a holiday or not. It's like, you know, calendar-themed horror, I think, is more of a more appropriate category for slasher movies than holidays.
Calendar themed for sure. They I had read, like, basically because Auxilia had asked, yes, they were basically trying to cash in on slasher films, the craze.
But is this a movie that I guess a lot of people went, I suppose?
Well, it was considered a flop to them because I think I read it only made like 1/4 of, like, what Friday the 13th made. So it was...
and Friday the 13th, I'm sure the budget on that was, like, even lower than on this, because Friday the 13th was still coming out at a time when slasher movies were still sort of, like, on the trajectory, like, upward trajectory, so you could do it for no money and still make money off of it. Maybe.
And let's talk about the reviews for a second. So this was also critically panned when it came out. No one liked it.
I am shook.
Now, the best thing I had read about it was because this, it's a Canadian film. So
is it ever?
It's
the most Canadian movie I've ever seen.
So it was funded by the Film Board of Canada, which a lot of, if you're not from Canada and you're listening, that's where... In Canada, you can apply for these grants and get funding from our government for the arts.
Yeah, but sort of like NEA of Canada.
It got tore apart, specifically by Siskel, was one of the noted critics, and a couple other, like, New York Times and stuff, because people hated it so much that they tried to inspire hate from Canadians, saying that your government used your tax money to fund this movie, and that was their, like, how they attacked it.
Who, Americans tried to say that?
Just critics, Canadian critics, American critics, and they all said, like, yeah, they were like, your tax money went to create this filth. Because this was actually considered...
As opposed to the treasured, independent cinema that was being produced at this time.
And, I mean, it's not a surprise. I mean, I'm sure at some point we'll talk about, like, video nasties and stuff. But
yes, we'll get there.
So, especially in America, they found this movie very appalling and...
Why?
Shocker. A country founded by Puritans found something shocking.
I don't know. I'm trying to think if any of these other facts are. It had a total. They cut a total of 9 minutes from the movie. That's what the director said.
But that's a lot. 9 minutes is a lot of footage.
They got that in order for it not to get an X rating because of the gore. Now,
this is so mild. This is such a mild movie.
We've decided. Me and Exilia watched the edition, the special edition that had the added scenes. You could tell because A, they were more gory, and B, like they weren't fully like finished editing, so you could tell the different quality. But
yes, you could tell like the quality of the shots would just dropped drastically, and it's like, was this shot with a like shoe phone from Get Smart in 1980? Like what?
It would be the most boring movie ever without those scenes, though, because like it doesn't really show anything.
But you also have to think about that. And it's a hard thing because I think most people's go-to would be like the time period, but this was at the slasher height, so like we had Halloween, that kind of thing, so we had already started to see violence. But I mean, the gore for the time, I mean, I thought it was pretty good gore.
It was. That was the most notable thing about this movie, I think, is the effects were fairly well done, and the gore was present, which is all you want. Yeah.
That bartender guy, when he gets killed and his like eyeballs like coming out, it's just
it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Oh man, this is so late in the episode for me to say spoiler warning.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, spoiler warning as always.
We should just call this podcast spoiler warning.
I feel like that has to be the name of a podcast already. We could just take it and copyright it. But I was gonna say that I was reading that the 9 minutes have never fully been released. They've only released, they said, like 3 to 4 minutes on other in the version we watched, stuff like that. And I also read that people kind of argue, apparently, I don't know who it is, like, let's say Universal or Paramount, whoever had the rights to it, they claim that they didn't cut that much of the movie, and the director's like, nah, they're lying. I don't know, it was like a weird thing I read.
I was gonna say, from the little that I read about this movie, it seems that everybody involved in it says that it was hacked to bits. Yeah. Like, there was a lot of stuff cut out of it.
Yeah, unfortunately. So I don't know. Let's talk about this movie. Okay, I'm starting off on a good note. The intro song was my jam. That was like that. Like,
this was full of jams.
I was enjoying the music. I enjoyed the hell out of the
Honestly,
music.
I only remember the ending credit song.
Because that was also a jam, and I was like, I need this as an MP3. Like, iTunes, where are you? Apple Music, please post this immediately. Track down the rights holders, I need this.
It was like a Irish, Scottish inspired, like East Coast.
It was like a folk song.
Song.
It was such a folk song. It was amazing. I was like, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if like Donovan or somebody like recorded this.
And look,
Same thing, like the song that they play during the first bar scene after they all like get off work and are like, ooh, let's go like drink. I was like, this could be a Dolly Parton B-side from the late 70s.
Oh my god, I thought it was Dolly Parton when I first
heard
it.
Yes.
I was like, is this Dolly Parton? And
like,
I know
literally, I was like a Dolly B-side from like someday when she had a cold or something, right? When she's like, let's just bang out a jam for like the B-side of this single.
Now, before we get too much into it, because I was like, let's get into it, and then I really thought about it. Let's set this up, because we set it up in the invitation episode that this, as we've already said, is a very Canadian movie. It's shot in Canada, made in Canada.
Canadian
It is
actors.
shot in Cape Breton, Sydney Mines.
Yeah, Sydney Mines.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say shot in...
Let the humble host
The
go
humble
ahead.
host. No, I was just saying it was shot in Sydney Mines.
Yeah. Well, a lot of my notes are actually just about it being shot in Nova Scotia because, as we've said before, we're from Nova Scotia, and like, it's such small town, like East Coast. That's really... And
it
like,
is so East Coast, because if I
Yeah.
didn't know that it was shot in Nova Scotia, I was watching it and going, this could have been shot in Newfoundland.
Yeah.
It's like, and you know, a lot of small towns, this is literally how life still is today. If you have an event, like they would go to the Union Hall there in the movie. If you have an event, you would go to like the Legion, the Lions Club, and that's where you would like host your event.
Sydney Mines was not the first choice.
What was the first
Glace
choice?
Bay
Okay.
was the first choice.
Glace Bay?
Well, listen, because I have actually been in the mines in Glace Bay. Like, I've been down in the mine shaft and all this stuff in Glace Bay. So they have a miners museum there, and so that's when I still have like a little trinket from the coal mine that I like put my plant in. So I looked and I was like, oh, where was that place? Because I went there with my grandparents when I was a kid, and it was in Glace Bay. So they were probably going to use those mines.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Well, I can't remember now why they said they ended up... Oh, I do remember. They said they ended up choosing Sydney Mines because the town around where they was more desolate and looked more in shambles.
Two of our really good friends when I went to St. Mary's were from Sydney Mines, actually.
But here's what I found hilarious, the little side story about it, was the director in an interview said it was like all hell shooting there because they went and they scouted the location. These mines were grungy and dirty, and they were like perfect. So they told Sydney, we want to shoot here.
Well, Sydney Mines is a different place.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Sydney Mines.
Oh yeah, Sydney and Sydney Mines.
Yeah, Sydney Mines. Sorry, it's Sydney Mines. When I say Sydney, I meant Sydney Mines. So when they left and they came back to shoot, to help out, the town went into the mines and cleaned the mines up to be presentable. They said they wanted it to be
Canadian.
as clean as Disneyland.
Oh my god, it's a mine shaft.
No, so listen, they went in and they painted the walls white.
What?
In a mine?
In a mine. And the director talked about how it was like it was too.
There were scenes in there where the walls were white.
And the director.
Oh my god, it makes so much sense.
The director said they had to spend like an extra like $50,000 because they had to like go dirty the mine up again so they could shoot
go
it.
smear coal all over the walls.
Well, that's what I'm kind of thinking about this not doing in Glace Bay, because the mines they have there are really. I mean, it's a museum and people.
Well, it's a tourist attraction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The public can go down there, so they're like, you know, as tidy and clean as like mines can be, coal mines. But maybe that's why.
Yeah, I just thought I'd bring up that funny story.
Also, I just want to say, was this movie sponsored by Moosehead Beer?
Oh my god, I have Moosehead notes all through my notebook right now. I'm like, Moosehead. I fucking love it.
There's even, like,
it was the only thing I saw other than Moosehead was a Pepsi sign in one thing. But I was like,
Yes.
they even, like, okay, that's what they were drinking in cans, in bottles.
Yeah, cans and
there was
bottles.
one point when Mabel is bringing the, like, decorations to the hall, and it's a fucking Moosehead cardboard box.
Yes.
It's Moosehead in the back of the bar, like the signs up everywhere.
You gotta represent the East Coast.
I thought it was hilarious. They had those.
I like it. Literally,
so
one of the
much
first
Moosehead.
notes I have is Moosehead beer! Exclamation point!
Yeah.
But yeah, all I really want to say about the intro was like crazy music. I love the music. The camera angles were awesome. I thought the camera work throughout the whole movie was pretty good. Like,
it's better than it should have been.
Yeah, like I thought it was really well done, and I loved in the intro that like they kept. It was like almost hard to hear them, like, and they kept all the noise from the mines, like. So I felt like I was there. It wasn't like the voices were super loud, so you could hear what they were saying. Like you had to really listen, and I really like that.
Oh, it was well done.
My comment was when I first started, I've never seen a town so obsessed with Valentine's Day.
The town is called Valentine.
Okay, that's why I missed that.
That whole intro shot.
Okay, there's a giant shot of like the sign saying like "Welcome to Valentine Bluff" or whatever it's called.
Yeah, Valentine's Bluff.
Oh yeah, at the beginning.
Yeah,
that's why. Okay, that makes more sense because like even the police jeep car thing has like a heart.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say the town crest is a heart with like mining tools in the middle of it. Like, come on.
Can we just say it was amazing at the beginning when they like clock out of work and that country music kicks in? They're all like in their cars.
Hang on. Let's go back for a second. I have a couple notes from right before that I just want to get into. The very first thing in this movie is that old Paramount logo, which makes me melt inside, and I love it so much because like the old classic Paramount logo was just. It moves me. And then in the opening scene when the woman is getting murdered in the mine, I wanted to make a comment that her and the killer, go down there and they're wearing their like mining coveralls and the masks and stuff, and she takes hers off and then she's unzipping her coveralls and then she's just wearing a bra and panties beneath it, and I'm like, girl, that must be so fucking uncomfortable to wear a pair of mining coveralls with no clothes underneath. How uncomfortable. Like, I was just like, why would you do that? Is the dick that good that you need to be so uncomfortable and go down in a mine for it? Like,
and also be in a mine. Like,
yes.
Mines are sexy in this movie.
Mines aren't. Well,
yes. Well, I mean, mines are like wombs. They're like, it's like Alien. It's like the vaginal, it's all very like Freudian, hideously symbolic.
During It Follows, Rowan said, "Is this the least romantic place to ever have sex?" No, this
mine
is the least romantic place to
mines.
ever have sex. In the mines, mines are damp and wet and dirty and like that. Yeah, that's what really. I had to write that.
And you want to say, how has anybody ever procreated in Sydney mines? Because it's so unromantic. And
no,
also,
inside the mines, not in the town.
Oh, inside the mines, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
so
don't
I did love
also that woman's eyeshadow was fucking lit.
God.
That green eyeshadow was lit. I am dying and living for it. It was lit.
I'm also kind of upset that they have the gas masks on. That's, like, very inaccurate. If you had gas masks, you wouldn't, like, die of black lung.
I mean, this is true, and all them had black lung anyway.
Yeah.
But,
that's literally how they die. That's, like, how coal miners die.
Yeah.
Well, besides being, like, collapsed.
I get why they use it, because it looks scary, and the
yeah,
mask...
well, and it hides the person's face.
Like, yeah. Let's say this. I respect this movie fully because we get into the killing, like, right away. Within, like, the first, couple minutes. And the kill count in general in this, I'm pretty impressed with. Like, it A+ on the killing and the gore. I really enjoyed it. And
well, I mean, they didn't exactly like spend 6 months refining the narrative. So
yeah, no,
the kills were sort of what they were hinging their success on. That's for sure.
And the look of the killer is on like the mask is.
It
amazing.
was. I mean, like. Like, masks in general at the time were being overdone, which is why they used it, but it also was very unique. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of other movies were just sort of, I think, even good ones at the time, good slashers and good horrors, were copping out and just not, like, doing shots where it was, like, from the shoulders down and just not showing the person's face.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, they were like, we're going to show the whole person, but he gonna have mask on.
I just thought, I mean, maybe it's the Canadian in me or something, but, like, to me, like, I think that is, that image of him and, like, with the mask is, like, just as iconic. Like, whenever I see that, a mask like that, like, I always think My Bloody Valentine, whether it be the remake or this. Or
oh my god,
whatever.
yes. And same
like,
thing with a pickaxe. The pickaxe is a brutal weapon. That was such a good choice. Like, a pickaxe is heavy and, oof, it's just, like, shreds your body, right? Like, it just rends that flesh from them bones.
and I would like to say that this movie had just the kind of stereotypes I love in my horror movies of
yes,
of us East Coasters. Like, me and Exilia had brought up, like, every once in a while, one of them would attempt to, like, have an East Coast accent.
Or it would, like, come through. You could tell from when they're talking, just regular, like,
some of them had to be.
had it because, like,
yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, they were all Canadians, so.
But also the guy, what's his name? TJ or whatever?
TJ,
yes.
He, like, keeps it together most of the time until, like, almost to the end, and he's down in the mines when he's, like, trying to save them. And I can't remember what he says, but I was like, oh my god, like, something about a joke.
Oh, yeah, I don't...
And it was, like, it just, like, really came out there.
TJ must have been in the Mac, because it fucked with him, and the Mac is a fickle mistress.
A fickle mistress. This is the thing that I thought was interesting about this movie, like, horror aside and all this aside, like, it actually is a really good depiction of life there. Like, historically. And, like, he goes to the West Coast, which, like, I'm going to assume is Alberta, even though it's not the coast, but that's what you do when you're from
mining, oil, all that shit.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're from Nova Scotia or Newfoundland and you need money, like, that's generally what happens, is you would go out west. So I thought that was really interesting and just, like, kind of showing the economics of it all, and I thought it was just, like, a really actually accurate depiction of life there. Yeah.
You have no culture, depiction. So all you can think of is, I need a paycheck, I'm going to go to Alberta.
Yeah, it's true. And, like, all the men in the town worked in the coal mine, so, like, that's what their lives revolved around. That's why they went to the union hall, because they're all part of this union.
You know, they're not novelists or anything like that.
I just like how much throughout the movie they, like, really tried to hammer the point home, like, the West Coast fucks you up.
It does. We've lived there.
Can we please talk about for, like, 2 seconds? I know we're not going to progress chronologically through this movie because it's a bonus episode, but just after the opening episode, that fucking shower scene, like, what was that? What was that? First of all, how was there no horseplay during that? Like, just...
I love that.
Anybody? Like, am I the only one that found that a bizarre scene?
I like that the only time... I personally think the only time you should air your grievances as men is in a shower full of men.
When you're just, like, slicked up with coal and cheap, shitty soap. Yeah, of course.
I do also
yeah, there was no horseplay. Like, what the fuck?
The cop, the cop with that pipe I loved it. I liked that he just always was smoking that pipe.
My favorite thing about this movie is I was really upset that I couldn't see all these, like, magnificent Nicolas Cage faces. But this cop, the chief, He was bringing that Nicolas Cage realness.
No, the guy that was making the faces was the mayor.
Was it the mayor?
He was the mayor when he gets the heart. When he has the heart box in the truck.
And he's just like
truck with the cop,
truck.
And he's just like, oh no, and it's like, ah, and he like literally contorts like Jim Carrey got nothing on this bitch, like.
Also, wasn't it the chief that finds Mabel in the laundromat? In the laundrette?
Yes.
And his face too. Like, his face too was hilarious.
Was Mabel, like, not one of the best deaths in this?
Okay, I have notes about Mabel. I have lots of notes. Most of my notes are about Mabel because I love her. First of all, yes, you're right. Second of all, her laundrette was called Madame Mabel's, and I was looking at that going, so she had a laundrette, and it was called Madame Mabel's, and it was, like, trashy on the front, and then she had this, like, wispy white curtain leading to the back room, and I'm like, is this a fucking brothel? Like, Madame Mabel's? Like, what the fuck? I just want her to be back there with all the, like, 21-year-old, I don't know what you want to call them, the like girlfriends of the miners. They got nothing else to do. Like they're all their men are down in the mine all day, so they're like turning tricks for all the like flaccid. Whatever.
I also want to give a big shout out to the chief of police, because when he discovers Mabel's body in the dryer. And, like, everyone's there. He's got, like, the department there, and they're pulling her out or whatever. I like that we're back in the time in our society when he's just, like, smoking.
I just realized.
At the crime scene.
He told everybody that she had a heart attack. That's like Valentine's Day, a heart attack.
Oh my god, everything is hearts. Okay, so since we're still on Mabel, I feel like we need to spend some time on Mabel. So, you know how they had Mabel in the dryer?
Yeah.
First of all, when he opened up the dryer, or when it popped open or whatever, like, her body just kept twirling around and around, and I'm like, girl, when you open up a dryer, it stops turning. I'm sorry. It stops turning.
It was so good, though. It was so good.
But because it was so nonsensical to me, like, I laughed at it, and I was like, this is actually fun. Like... Her body is just turning around. The gore
was so good in that.
It was brilliant. It was so fun. Like, I loved it. It was so Canadian.
I didn't.
Also, I just kept thinking about this like dead body being in a fucking dryer, and like when he walked in there, I'm like, bitch, what does that fucking laundrette smell like with a dead body in a fucking hot ass goddamn dryer for like probably hours?
Well, I like that he acknowledged that it smelled, but like not that much. Like he smelled the pipe, and he was like trying to figure it out.
I didn't Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I didn't really get the logic of like how all these random things led him to the dryer, because it was like an upside down heart.
Yeah, it's like is it like they're decorating for Valentine's Day? And he's like, why are these decorations here?
And I get that it's sort of like, it's almost like an upside down cross. It's like, sacrilege. and the crest of their town is a heart, so it's upside down. So, it's like fucking blasphemy.
I wonder what the
to their town.
Exorcist would be like if you had upside down hearts instead of upside down crucifixes.
I can't remember the other things, but just the path that led him to this dryer going was just made no fucking sense.
No, it didn't.
How is that thing logically going to lead you to this next thing?
You are right, because there was upside down hearts on like 7 different places.
Yeah.
But he literally just picked 2 random ones, and the second one was like, oh look, there's the bloody dryer with Mabel spinning around in it, like stanking the place up.
And wasn't it just like initially closed, and then he like pulls it out, and there's like a red piece of red
he pulls
clothing?
The clothes out, and like literally not once, not twice, but thrice smells the pile of clothes. And I'm like, do you like fabric softener that much that you need to smell? Or are you just, like, getting off on, like, smelling other people's probably dirty clothes? Like, what is this?
All right.
No, I had lots of questions about that scene, that's all. I just wrote lots of
I need to go back a little bit. Because all I know is that if I ever live in a town that doesn't have a bar named The Cage, I will need to start one.
Hell yes. Yep.
The Cage is such a tough name.
Also, the bartender was like my favorite character.
My next note was walk in the bar, bartender just reciting poetry.
Yep.
Like Irish poetry.
While there's a requisite grizzled fucking skipper sitting at the bar, like... I was like, I love it! This is so fucking East Coast. There's the grizzled skipper and everything.
The bartender was so good. It was so good. And that scene was so good. We got to see TJ and all his anger issues. We got to
also,
see...
I stand TJ and Sarah, like, so hard. I'm just saying. Even at that point when you didn't know, like, if they were going to get together or not.
Yeah.
I was like, I stand this bitch.
I will say in my notes, all I have written is... Axel, a.k.a. Mr. Steal Your Girl, because that's what he was doing, is stealing these ladies.
Well, they all had, and this was one of my notes, the hair and the mustaches. Fuck, yes. They were all like Lady Killer Supreme.
Hollis.
Hollis was my favorite. Okay, besides the bartender, Hollis was my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
He was the guy with, like, the mustache and the glasses.
Oh, yeah. Yep. The, like, chubbier guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was all over him. Yep.
And let's talk about Hollis's girlfriend.
Cynthia Dale, legend.
Never.
She was the red dress
legend.
one.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I didn't get, because she's talking
literally in my notes right now. My first note is old Paramount logo brings me joy. My second note is 3 hearts, Cynthia Dale, 3 hearts.
So this was my thing. First, I didn't really know if it was this woman, because she's talking about, we're going, like, when they were talking about going to the party. His partner.
Patty. Her name is Patty.
Well, we're in 1981. That would have been his bride. His lady.
Yes.
But she's, like, talking about the party, like, we're gonna, like, get all these guys. They're gonna be loving us. So at first I thought she was single. But I want to talk about disappointment. So she's building her friend up, building her girl up. She's like, wait till you see this red dress. And she's like, it goes
cut down to here and slid up to there.
Slid up there.
Yep.
And then you see the dress, and I'm like, that's something my grandmother would wear. I'm like,
it's like
you could literally get away with wearing that dress to a funeral.
Yeah, I'm like, there is nothing scandalous.
It is so conservative.
Dress.
I'm like, bitch, I mean, I know you don't have the cleavage to pull it off, but still, who cares? Get the cuts. You need to just take a knife and just cut it up.
But then I was like 1981 Cape Breton. Yeah, okay, maybe this is a little risque.
I have in my notes when she was down in the mines, she was driving me nuts. She was just like the Sarah woman was like, "Come on, like what are you doing?" And she didn't want to move. She didn't want to climb up the stairs.
I know, and the whole movie, she was like, kind of like strong, like let's do it, you know what I mean? Like, just sort of, like, go with the flow and everything, and it's like, oh, yeah, she's cool, she'll, like, survive, and then it's like, she gets down there, and it's like, no, I'm gonna fall apart and turn into, like, a fucking giant quivering mess.
That's the weird thing. She was, like, the only one pretty much in the movie that was emotional about anybody's deaths. Everybody else was like, all right, like, let's move along now.
Oh, like 7 of our friends are decapitated and, like, roasted.
Yeah, okay, they didn't sound emotional at all.
All I kept thinking throughout the movie is, like, and I gotta go back to him, is, like, the bartender, he was my spirit animal. I just like how he, like, fucking hates everybody, and he's just like, fuck these fuckers.
I mean, like, you wouldn't be.
They don't believe him.
I mean, he's that, like, the voice of reason, the, like, key to the past. He's the holder of the, like, folklore and the mythology, right? Like, they don't believe him. It's like he's a prophet, and he's the fucking madman in Shakespeare, like, screaming and warning everybody what's going to happen, and they're like, fuck you. And
I feel like he had this, like, conspiracy theorist kind of, like, that's how they saw him.
Yeah, well, and my thing, I want to ask, how many damn times you got to check to make sure that scary door trick
oh my
works?
God. I was like, are you just trying to pad an extra 2 minutes onto this movie by just having him open it like 7 times?
After
just
you did it the first time, we know you're gonna die,
Yeah,
which was
exactly.
also an amazing kill with that. Pick.
It was great. It was.
There's so many good kills in
Okay, and
this.
speaking of good kills, can I say my favorite one?
Of course.
When that guy was drowned in a pot of boiling hot dogs.
Except then when they put his face down in it was clearly like cold water. I loved it. I know, and then it's like the wieners like bouncing around.
Yeah. It was funny.
I also enjoy that, like, when he was in the fridge, like, it took that long to note it. Like, I've never
They just cared about the moose head.
Yeah, like, I've never gotten anything out of the fridge and not seen what's in the fridge.
A decapitated head on the bottom of it. Like,
and, like, the fridge wasn't full of stuff. There was, like...
Not that much.
A couple beers. That was it. Yeah,
yeah, it was a pretty pitiful cafeteria fridge, honestly. Also, can I just say, as random as this is, there was a point when they were at the party there, and I was like, oh, cool, they, like, hired somebody at the last minute to come and, like, tend bar and, like, cook the food. And then I'm like, no, they just got the women to do it. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
the girls are just like, oh yeah, we'll go in and cook the hot dogs, and we'll like stand behind the bar and make your drinks. I'm like, bitch, no, fuck that, fuck these goddamn beautifully mustached people. Like,
such like speaks to like the traditional gender roles in a place like that.
Oh my god, yes,
in
a like little tiny East Coast town. Like, fuck yeah, in 1980.
Yeah, like the women either like worked at a store or like tended to their family, like they were housewives.
Yes, and if they're youngsters like them, you know, I mean, they're only like what? I'm sure they were no more than 21.
Yeah.
Well, let me clarify this for you a bit, because you're saying, you know, what kind of time, place, what kind of people would, you know, make the women cook all the food and serve all the drinks. I'll tell you what kind of people. The kind of people that think it's a good idea to have a fucking party and a fucking mine.
I know, when they were like, when all that group went down there, I was like, this is highly unsafe. Like, what are you doing?
Listen, I wrote down, this is what, the quote for their party should have been, and the quote for the entire movie should have just been, nothing says fun like black lung.
I know, that's what I like talk. I have like numerous notes about black lung here.
Like, well, I mean, they keep talking about like the methane gas and like, oh, if you like fart, you're gonna blow the mine up, and I'm like, and y'all are just going down there like in your fucking wool dresses, like. Just breathing this shit in. Yeah, okay, that sounds spectacular.
I saw that mustache on Hollis. I know he's ripping farts, so, like, they'd be blown up.
Oh, yeah. That's, he don't eat that many beans and not be tooting.
You're not eating all those hot dogs.
Oh, them hot dogs and that, like, nice boiled human heart that comes out of the pot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
It looks so gross.
Why did I not think of that? When they pulled it out the whole time, I'm like, what the fuck is that?
It looks like boiled hamburger, but it's a heart.
No. Here's what it looked like. It looked like, a piece of chicken from somebody who's like doing meal prep for the whole week. And it's like a piece of boiled, fucking unseasoned chicken breast, except it's a human heart.
Except it's a human heart. I like tried to do meal prep, but then I like failed. I don't even think I actually got to the point. The idea was in my mind, but I never got to the point of execution. But I know what you mean. It'll be like one serving the size of your palm of your hand, plain chicken breast. Like, yeah.
It's like, girl, just drown that shit in teriyaki sauce. Like,
I also love at the party, like, when TJ and Axel, like, start fighting, like, the music stops, and how long it takes before they turn the music back on. Like, someone just stops the music. I love that they're, like, want the drama so bad, they're like, stop this music.
Oh, yeah, they just, like, slap the side of that goddamn jukebox.
Oh, can I say too? So they had a little thing come up, words, text, and it said that it was Friday, February 13th. And that's the day me and Rowan got married, Friday, February 13th. So I thought that was really a nice touch.
Aw, how cute.
Aww.
I've never seen another Friday the 13th of February.
Happy movie anniversary, you guys.
Thanks. It's a day before everybody dies.
And we talk about, you know, just like shoddy writing. They're trying to get this movie out, whatever. But let's talk about the one big issue here.
One?
Well, I think the only real one that, even in movie logic, makes me concerned for these people. So these people work as miners, which is, some would probably say, the most dangerous job you could really do. And, the phone, their emergency phone, you have to pay to use emergency phone.
I wrote a note about that too. Hang on now.
Yeah, because they're like, quick, go call the police. And he goes and picks up the phone, he has to put a quarter in.
He's like digging in his pocket for change. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Is there not a regular phone in this building where you can call 911 and say, hey boys, there's people down in the mine and everyone's dead?
They don't even have 911 on the phone. It has fire, and it's like
they don't have 911, but still, you would think that, you know, the local fire department or whatever would be.
I just like to think, like, those mines collapse, all these people are in them, and then someone's like, oh shit, I don't have any change, guys, sorry.
That's probably what happened to our buddy that died there.
Oh,
yeah. Whatever.
Putting a coin into the payphone to call the cops. Like, that's what I got right now. I'm just like, I can't, like, question mark.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think what, like, I really enjoyed, like, I enjoy that a lot of the POV shots in this. I love how they did that. And I like the mystery of it. I think it was good.
Whoa, getting to the end already?
No, I didn't say. I'm just saying.
You know, we've been there already at this point anyway.
I thought the end battle was hilarious and so sad. It was just like they were going in slow motion. One with the shovel, the other with the pickaxe, and it's like it looked like they were acting.
And I'm like, bitch, that fucking pickaxe is so much heavier than a shovel.
Than a shovel.
Let's be honest, it was a little lackluster ending. It was a little lackluster.
I mean, honestly, the whole... And, like, I love trashy slasher movies, especially from the 80s. Like, you know, y'all can quote me on this, and we're obviously going to be doing many more of them during this podcast. But, like, usually, even if the whole movie just, like, is such a drag, at least I can get a good solid 10 minutes at the end of, like, a really good fight or chase scene or something. And I'm like... In this point, I was, like, more interested, like, in the build-up, because it was so Canadian and quirky and interesting, and then when it got to the final battle, I'm like, I don't really care. Yeah. I'm like, first of all, the only thing that bothers me about this battle is that, Sarah is wearing this, A, white, which, no, B, wool dress, and she's completely drenched in, like, dripping... fucking, I don't know, like, what do you call mine condensation? They're all wet, and she's, like, wearing this goddamn wet wool dress, and I was like, bitch, and wearing goddamn high heel boots. Like, what the fuck? This is not happening. It's making me uncomfortable watching it. Like, I feel physically uncomfortable watching it.
You would feel so gross down there. It's so damp, and then you have a wool dress on. And do they even fucking make wool dresses anymore?
I know!
I've never wore one.
But you know what? To me, that was like the interesting thing about this movie was I thought it was a very lackluster ending. Not the very end, because the very end was the credits with the tough ass song.
I mean, I didn't see the ending coming. I didn't even think.
Oh, that 127 hours like self-mutilation.
What?
You know, when he, like, bit his arm, when he, like...
Oh, okay, well...
let's just get into it. Let's just get into it. Like, okay, so... We find out Axel...
Is the person.
Is the killer. Did we all see this coming?
We all saw it. What?
I didn't. Jesus. I thought it was the hairy guy.
What?
I thought it was him, and then they took off his mask, and it was fucking Axel.
Exilia is exactly like the gullible person whoever wrote this script was like, oh, they're never gonna guess this.
X is like, what's a red herring?
I literally have twist. It was Axel.
Yeah.
I thought he died in the 60-foot water.
Okay, so I have a note about that, and I just, because I thought this was the funniest thing. I mean, I had seen this movie before.
It's been,
I want to say maybe once, but it was a very long time ago. It was probably like 11 or 12 years ago. It was like one night, you know, we were just like partying too hard and watching it at like 2 o'clock in the morning. But I remember when, at the very end, you know, when it was clearly either TJ or Axel who was the killer, because it was one of them, you know, it was Sarah and Patty and the two of them in the mine, and then, you know, Patty gets killed, and then it's like, okay, well, clearly Sarah's not the killer, so it's one of the guys. And, you know, when they get attacked and the mask comes off and it's Axel, and TJ goes, Axel, why? And then it literally just cuts to a flashback scene really quickly showing that, like, Axel was the son of one of the mining supervisors who got murdered by Harry. On Valentine's Day, and then, like, it showed the blood splattering on his face, which I thought was, like, gratuitous and brilliant. I'm like, yes, you splat.
What was he eating under the bed?
I thought he was, like, eating a tongue. I was like, did he just eat his father's tongue? Like, I don't know what's happening here. I don't know why
That's
I thought
that. That's what I thought, too. I was like, is he just eating?
But it's like,
part of his...
it literally just, it cut to that and showed, and I, you know, I was like, okay, cool. Like, that, you know, sort of explains it, I guess, in a, like, sub-psycho kind of way. But, they don't see it, but he doesn't say anything. It just goes, Axel, why? And then cuts to a flashback and shows that shit. And then the fucking mine, like, collapses on him. And I was like, oh my god, this is like fucking Fellini filmmaking right here. Like,
and let's
these
also
other
say,
characters
like,
don't even understand. Like, they don't know. He never actually said, like, my dad was killed by Harry. And, you know, just like, could you not verbalize for, like, 30 seconds the flashback that it just showed to actually explain to the characters that are standing in front of you, like, why you're
he also
everybody.
had, like, the weakest crazy guy laugh ever.
I kind of like that crazy guy laugh, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but this was my issue. When he did it, like, while they filmed, you could tell it was real weak, because then they come in again when the credits are about to come on with, like, him having recorded it, and that sounded good, but I was like, the first one was like, I thought that was like the lame where he's like running away. He was like, I'm gonna get you kids next time.
After he, like, chews his arm off.
Did he chew it? I think he, like...
no, he cut it off with the Bowie knife that he had,
Yeah.
There
didn't seem to be enough blood for someone who just cut their arm off.
Also, like, what do you do? I mean, I know I'm just, like, chewing at loose ends here, but, like, I was watching that, and I'm like, okay, cool, so you just cut your arm off to, like, get away from the 20 police and every townsfolk in Sydney Mines, and your ex-girlfriend. Okay, so you run away. Like, what do you do now that you only have one arm? You can't really go to the hospital and say,
the hospital
cut my own arm off. But, like, also, what do you do? And I was like, were they setting it up for a sequel of, like, one-armed? Yeah, and I'm sorry, you cannot raise a fucking pickaxe with one arm, because those things are goddamn heavy. Like, I have lifted a pickaxe, I have used a pickaxe, they are fucking heavy.
I like when he cut his hand off and she, like, kind of had it on her hand. And then even though he's running away, the hand is almost, like, still, like, grasping at her arm. Yeah. And I was like, I don't feel like dead hand, like, an amputated hand is really gonna, like, you know, grasp with its muscles your arm.
Yeah, how long does that last? Like, like the reverse Phantom Limb.
I have to bring up my all-time favorite scene in this movie. It might be one of my all-time favorite scenes ever. So when TJ and Axel, of course we don't know Axel's the killer yet, when they're like when they're about to go in the cage to lower themselves down to save everyone, and they, like, give each other the most awkward handshake, and they're like, good luck. But then they both get on to the same cart and slowly go down together.
That's like when you, like, leave somebody.
Yeah,
like,
when you're like, bye, see you later, and you get on an elevator, and that person gets on the elevator with you, and then it's just awkward.
And then you're like, well, bye again.
Yeah, I was just like, this is so awkward and amazing.
It's like the level of awkward when you, like, turn around to hold the door for somebody, but they're, like, 20 feet back, so you're just standing there for like literally 45 seconds holding the door open.
They do that little like run, like the fake half
They're like,
run
this is awkward. I'm going to try to get there as quick as possible.
Or the worst is when you hold it for so long, then you misjudge how far away, and you let go of the door, and they're right there.
And it's like right in front of their face, and then you're like, oh, sorry.
You're like, I was being polite, then it got really awkward, and then I turned horrendously rude. It's
my
like
politeness has
a tragedy
like,
in 3x.
It's true.
Holding the door for somebody is tragic.
But I think it's definitely worth mentioning, like, overall, like, I thought it was paced really good.
It
like,
actually was. It really truly was.
There's a lot of kills in it. Like, the gore is on point. We've only brought up, like, 1/3, like, 1/2 of the kills, and, like, the kills are awesome.
Oh, they're great, and that's the thing. Like, it's worth watching it just for the kills, because for such a low-budget movie and a Canadian movie, a Canadian slasher in 1981, like, it was not Savini level, but, like, it was pretty technically skilled, I found, the kills. Like, it was...
Yeah, I thought...
They knew what was gonna fucking, like, hook people at that point.
When they,
You don't need a narrative, you need just some fucking crazy kills to get people in the theater.
When he killed Little John's girlfriend in the
oh my god, yes,
in the shower room. Oh, that
Sylvia,
was so good.
I have a note written about her. Because remember how they're like making out in that weird room, and you know. He's like, oh, I'm gonna go get more beer. And she has that first of all, she has that luxurious purple, like, cashmere sweater on. And I was like, oh, bitch, you are, like, in a fucking mine. Everything is covered in grime. And you're wearing this beautiful, like, what looks to be a, Dior sweater. Like, anyway, and she lies down and she's, like, feeling herself. I'm like, man, bitch, you are, like, totally, like, into it. Like, she is so horned up. She's, like, feeling herself. She's lying down. And I'm just like, girl, you do it. I just, like, wish she'd just, like, masturbated and got it over with. I was like, fuck her. She doesn't need that fucking ginger. Like, I just was like, you female agency, take your pleasure into your own hands, man. Like,
it's true. And then she got murdered and had, like, a fucking sprinkler come out her mouth.
That was a pretty good murder, though. That was
pretty
good.
Intense.
Yeah.
Even, like, I like, because, it was an awesome kill, but then we got to also revel in that kill after when he finds her and you get to see, like, the water coming out.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
That was, like, I love that.
It was a little detail that really made it, though. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Was there any other, like, comments, Mike? Notes?
I did make a note about... Oh my god, I can't even believe I'm bringing this up. So, you know how one of the people that did get murdered near the end, was the barmaid? I think her name was Harriet.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. And I was like, the whole movie, like, okay, so she was in the bar scenes and, like, didn't say anything and was serving them and all that. And then she shows up at this party and I'm like, girl, you don't belong here. Anyway, and then she takes off with that other guy and, they start going at it and then, cuts to them later in the couple scenes later and they're dead. But I was like, this fucking bitch is getting dick and, like, she has literally said 2 words the entire movie. What the fuck? So Harriet getting to the end and, like, getting fucked without, like, not even saying a word to me was just, like, sort of, like, indicative of the state of women in slasher movies in the early 80s. And I'm a feminist and I love slasher movies and I love 80s horror movies, but I'm like, this girl literally did not even say 5 words the entire movie.
Yeah,
and she gets fucked and then killed.
Scene. This is the one where it has like the thing like through both of them together, right? Yeah.
It's like some kind of weird fire poker or something. I don't know what it was.
I was gonna say
that room looks like the same kind of room that Sylvia and what's his face were in too.
Yeah, it did. It was like somewhere kind of like mine adjacent.
They were down the mines. They were because they were the ones that like once they got down the mines, they like took off.
Yeah.
I'm just like in my mind, I'm just saying, who thinks that's a good? I know it's a movie, but I'm just like, that's such a bad idea.
And I mean, a big shout out because that's definitely predates. I was gonna say because that whole like pipe between the two of them, that's like kind of used a lot in slashers now. Like
Friday 13th Part 2 that. Spear through the two people.
This would have been before that.
Well, yeah, because Friday 13th, or it was the same year. I don't know if it came out before or after, but like, I think if they were not both 1981, maybe Friday 13th Part 2 was 1982-ish.
Yes.
So yeah. It was a very influential sort of seminal kill for sure.
We should be saying My Bloody Valentine, the innovator of the innovative movie.
But just on that note, to say yes, you're not wrong, because there's a lot in My Bloody Valentine that pops up in later movies, especially homage movies like Scream. Like there was a lot of stuff that Scream took from this. But anyway, that kill in particular, I just want to throw this out there in case anybody hasn't seen it, is actually like that like two people fucking and getting like speared was cribbed from a Mario Bava movie called Twitch of the Death Nerve, which was sort of a proto-slasher movie. It was an Italian, one of those Giallo movies.
Yeah.
Kind of like Dario Argento, but it was just like a slaughter fest. It was like a bunch of people around a lake, so it was like a camp atmosphere, except it wasn't a summer camp. And just people randomly getting picked off one by one. So I just wanted to throw that out there,
Interesting.
But My Bloody Valentine is still an innovator in that it cribbed from Italian horror movies before Friday 13th did.
So do we want to rate it? Are we done talking about it? Or do we want to talk?
Let's rate.
First, I have a guest rating.
Oh.
A guest rating. Because I forgot to bring it up in the facts. Quentin Tarantino.
He's a guest on our podcast.
Yeah, he couldn't make it tonight.
He wrote in. He wrote in.
No, so I was reading Quentin Tarantino says this is his all-time favorite slasher movie.
Oh my goodness, that seems like a stretch.
So yeah,
I love Quentin, but like that seems like a stretch.
So there you go. Quentin Tarantino, all-time favorite slasher film, he said.
I'll take it.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. He said it was very stylized, and he just loved everything about it. I'll take it.
Mike, let's start with... Was there any feet in this movie? Anyway, no. Abort.
We won't get into that.
Yeah, let's...
I'm sure it's at some point I'm going to bring up... I'm gonna make us watch From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yes.
Then we can talk
oh my god!
That.
Oh yes, I have a lot to say about that movie. Okay, I will start. I will rate. I feel like a 3-point rating system is not adequate for a movie such as this because it is not a yay. It's definitely not a slay. I will say that. I have shitty garbage slasher movies that I will call slay any day because there's
we make up the rating system. I mean, so you could say it's in between.
Yes, and that's what I'm gonna say. So like there are garbage movies that I know are trash, but like for personal or nostalgic or aesthetic reasons or philosophical reasons or theoretical reasons that I will give a slay, and I don't care. And it's a personal thing. But for me, it was good enough that it was not an A, but it's also like didn't have enough redeeming qualities to be a yay. So it's like almost a yay. It's like a 70% to a yay. It's a slay.
It's an A.5.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I did. It was a good slasher movie for the time. But like, and the thing is, when you put it in context of like other things from the time, like, you know, I mean, Friday 13th is garbage, but like, the kills were better, the pacing was better, frankly, the acting was better, you know, all that, everything about it was essentially better, even though it was not good. And you know, you look at the time, and then you've got, you know, you're coming off of things like Halloween and Black Christmas, which was also a Canadian slasher movie. Which
that was the other one. I was
blows this out of the water, right? Like, I mean, I wanna give it a pass because I was like, oh, this is an early '80s Canadian slasher movie, but I was like, no way, man. Black Christmas was a Canadian slasher movie, and it is to this day one of the best movies I've ever seen, and it actually, like, you know, makes me want to crawl out of my skin. So, you know, I'll give it a 0.5 nay slay. Yeah.
I agree. Okay. Exilia. This is what I've been waiting for. She wouldn't tell me.
Oh yes, I'm very looking forward to this.
Because I feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
In the way that it's not so bad that it's a nay. And also, I mean, it's not good. But it also, like, I don't know, it was from Nova Scotia, and like I like that aspect. Obviously, I'm a little biased. I don't know. It was okay. I'm not like, go run out today and watch it, everybody, or anything like that. But it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's like, so it has its fun moments, right?
Yeah, so I think it's kind of like halfway between a nay and yay.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna give it a yay. I almost was arguing with myself on why I wouldn't give it a slay.
Oh my god.
I listen, I haven't seen this, like you, Mike. I haven't seen this since I was probably like 12. And so I didn't have any memory of it. I knew the twist in it already, like, just because I've read things about it, but I had forgotten all about the kills in the movie. And I really enjoyed this movie. I loved the pacing. I loved the kills. There was never any parts that I felt really dragged on too much for me. Like, they really paced the killing out in the gore just how I liked it.
They did. It's like they had a mathematical formula. Like, every 5 pages, there must be a kill. Right? Like,
so I will give it a full out yay. I mean,
okay,
I don't
good for
think...
you. Yeah.
I don't think it's a masterpiece or anything, but, you know, let's say a yay with conditions.
Yeah.
Like, I think you have to enjoy slasher films. This isn't something like, you know, The Invitation where like, you don't even have to really like horror to watch it. Like, I think if you like slasher films, this is a decent 80s slasher film that is worth a watch, and like, might be worth putting into your collection. Scream Factory has a collector's edition of it.
I think because, like, you're basically giving The Invitation and this movie the same thing.
Well, I gave conditions on,
but so then I want to go back to The Invitation and say that I'm a yay leaning towards a slay, and then
that's already solidified. It's
this
too late.
is the middle of they're not even, they don't even compare it for me.
So you're saying The Invitation is a bit above a yay, and this is a bit below.
Well, when I gave
we need a 5-point scale in this case.
We do.
Listen, I had brought up the 5 points
partially.
Okay, yay. No, we will do yay conditional and like slay conditional. Yeah.
Yeah, well that's what I said. We can always have, discuss it, I guess. It's tough. Now you guys have me like thinking about it. I said it, that's fine, I won't change it. Cuz you know what, if we were talking about that, I'd probably give it like a high nay. Like,
yeah.
It's not for everybody, but I think horror fans would. I think
you enjoy it.
I think you would enjoy this. It's a fun slasher.
It is. It's fun. It's charming. It's got East Coast charm.
Yeah,
it's a cult classic. It's one of those that you watch late at night with friends and having consumed
I didn't
too
like
many.
that pause.
No. Having consumed too much of whatever substance you're into.
Exactly.
Watch it with a room full of people, laugh at it, just like have fun.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's charming. It has charm.
It does.
And I think and frankly, that's to me is why I will never give it a name because, even though it has a lot of generic plot points and stuff, like it has more charm because of where it's filmed and because it's Canadian. It really does. Like to me, that charm like lends it a lot more. Like it's just so much more likable.
I wonder if people not from home would think that. I wonder if we just think that because it's.
It's true. We could pose that as a question to anybody that ever listens to this. Like, what do you
I'd
think?
be interested because I think the only one I've ever heard, like I know the Alone in the Dark guys reviewed it, and this is like they're from the East Coast of the States,
but they're from what, Florida?
No.
Oh, that's a different one.
Yeah, no.
The East Coast of the States is not the same as Canadian.
No, they're closer. They're closer.
Like in Maine or
I
something.
can't remember.
Yeah,
what
Maine is like our jam.
But this is like one of their favorite movies.
Interesting. But I wonder if they like feel that aspect of it though.
Oh, boys, we're gonna be bringing up a like East Coast West Coast rivalry here now on like slasher movie critique.
I know. Well,
North of
I keep saying someday we'll have them on the podcast. We'll ask them. We'll quiz them on Canadian movies.
Yeah, but anybody that listens to it, like Mike said, what do you think? What are your opinions?
Yeah, let us know. Comment, please.
Although, like most of the people I feel listening to this are from the East Coast.
There's a lot of East Coast listeners, but that's fine.
That's a good lead-in for my necessary housekeeping blurbs. I feel
you're like a teacher.
I am like a teacher. I have to keep the class on track. The bills got to get paid. No, but if you do want to comment to us, you could subscribe to all of our social media on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It Slays Podcast. I think we're at like 52.
Whoa, 2 more.
Yeah, 2 more since last time.
A couple days ago.
Yeah.
Like, please leave a comment. Question.
Yeah, comment and we
tell us to go
one
fuck
of us
ourselves. It's all fine.
Anything. And I'm not gonna do. I don't have
suggestions
that much.
of stuff that you want us to talk about.
Yeah,
watch,
suggestions.
Like anything.
Just
like we're literally open.
Answer.
Like this is just something we're doing for fun. So please, like,
yeah,
whatever you want. If there's some weird random movie, you're like, talk about this. Like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the only other thing I have to say is, I said it last episode, if you would like to join us on Patreon, you can get us at patreon.com/itslayspodcast. Check out the different tiers. There's lots of cool stuff that you can get, like t-shirts and shout-outs. And, we'll get Mike real drunk and send embarrassing videos of them to you.
Handmade thank you cards.
And handmade thank you cards. Signed by the cast. Real VIP stuff. But yeah, that's all I have to say. This is just I feel like I didn't say it with that much vigor, but it's a bonus episode. We do this for the people.
This is a half-assed episode.
Yeah. Yeah. We talk more about Nova Scotia than really.
I mean,
could be worse.
Shout out to Nova Scotia.
Could be worse.
Well, Cape Breton, it's like
Breton.
It's right between us. It's right between Newfoundland and where we're from. So
representing. So, if that is everything, I am Rowan.
I mean, bye. It's Exilia. Bye.
This is Mike. Thanks for listening. We love you.
See you later.